Hello and welcome to iView Live. My name is Georgia Williams and I'm joined today by Andy Gell. Andy, do you want to introduce yourself?
As Georgia said, I'm Andy. I'm an IT support engineer for Wyvern, and I provide the assessment, repair and diagnosis of any of the broken machines that come into the shop.
Okay. So Andy's joined me today because we're going to talk about Windows 11. I don't know much about Windows 11. So you're very much the expert. So Andy's sharing his screen with me here. So we're going to take a little look at the user interface and we're going to have a good old discussion about it, aren't we?
Yeah.
So obviously, if we kind of go back a little bit, so Windows 11 was actually released on June 24th. Is that right?
Yeah. For development builds for the Windows Insider program, which allows some users to gain access to builds early.
Okay.
As long as they're part of that.
Right.
So that's how we've managed to access Windows 11 earlier than the proposed release date of later in this year.
Okay. So Microsoft actually announced obviously Windows 10 and they said they weren't going to release another version of Windows. So why Windows 11? Why are they not kind of continuously updating Windows 10?
Well, the original plan, I think, was to update Windows 10 just continuously. It was going to be called what they said was their Forever OS.
Yes.
I don't know the specific reason as to why they've changed their minds on that, but from what we can see from Windows 11, it seems already to be a faster, more responsive operating system with hopefully more benefits to come. So I don't know if their choice to change to Windows 11 instead of updating is a bad thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So obviously when users do update to Windows 11, what system requirements are needed?
Originally, you could have Windows 10 with 32-bit CPUs or 64-bit.
Yeah.
And the difference between them is their processing power.
Okay.
So 64 bits are newer, faster, more secure, and they can process more than 4 billion times the amount of data than 32-bit CPUs.
Right, okay.
There is no mention of having support for 32-bit anymore. But if you have a 32-bit CPU, it's probably quite dated anyway. So I wouldn't see that as a huge problem. Another system requirement is minimum of 4 gigabytes of RAM compared to Windows 10 where you only needed 1 for a 32-bit system or 2 for a 64.
Okay.
It's double the requirement on that.
I was going to say, that's quite large, isn't it? Difference,
yeah. Comparatively, 4 gigs is, I would say, a normal size for most laptops now. But, forewarning on that your system will be slow and sluggish. Otherwise, you might not even be able to upgrade. I don't know how strict they're going to be on that. And you need double the capacity as well in storage.
Okay.
So you needed 32 gigabytes beforehand, minimum to hold Windows 10. Now you need minimum of 64. I'm imagining it's not used that much yet, but that's probably for the scope of time to come. It's going to need quite a bit more.
Oh, okay. So obviously you've installed Windows 11. You've been through the process. Can you see any problems that users might face when trying to install it?
One thing is the Trusted Platform module.
Yes.
The requirements is TPM2. It's essentially just a safeguard for malware and things when you're booting up the operating system. And you are required TPM2 to be able to run it. Most laptops in the past 4 or 5 years have come with TPM 1.2.
Okay.
But it can be a bit of a pain to activate if you don't know how to do it. It's essentially in your BIOS settings, which is your basic input-output system.
Right.
It's before you put on any operating system, that's what's there. It's just a small little system on your laptop that you can change some settings, like secure boot and things like that, just safeguards. It was a bit of a pain to activate it. You might not have the driver installed, which you would then need to install or find it on the manufacturer's website. I had a bit of a trouble originally when I downloaded it on my personal laptop.
Right.
I needed to activate it, but there was no specific setting to activate it. I needed to manually download it
Right.
So I can see that being an issue
Okay.
to begin with, unless they can streamline the process.
Right. Okay. So is it free to upgrade? Is it free
As
to
long
install?
as you have a legitimate license for Windows 10, you will be able to upgrade, so long as you meet the requirements on the laptop.
Yeah. Okay.
If your laptop doesn't meet the requirements, it may upgrade, but it would be very slow. Or Windows is going to be very strict, and if you don't meet these specific requirements,
Right.
it's not going to allow you.
Right. Okay.
So long as you meet the requirements and you have a legitimate copy, you should be able to upgrade for free.
Oh, okay. Right. So obviously, there have been a lot of changes from Windows 10 to Windows 11.
Yes.
One thing in particular is the user interface.
Yes.
But what other main changes have Microsoft made?
At present, it seems to be mainly focused on user interface.
Okay.
That, like we said earlier, this is a very early development build. So at the moment, it's very user interface focused. If you load up any link, like I've just loaded up Internet Explorer, you can see the rounded edges instead of the jagged points that Windows 10 had. That borrows from like Chrome operating system from Google or Mac operating system from Apple. Sort of borrows that. It just makes things a little bit sleeker, you know, a little bit softer on your eyes. It's nicer to look at.
I was going to say, because obviously you've pulled up the tab there.
Yeah.
It looks very Chromey, doesn't it?
Yes.
Reminds me of Chrome a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Microsoft Edge is obviously the new browser for Microsoft. It's not Internet Explorer anymore.
Yeah.
And it uses Chromium, which is the basic building blocks that Chrome, like Google Chrome web browser is built on.
Right.
So, you know, you'll see quite a lot of similarities in between the both of them. There is, obviously, as you can see down at the bottom, there's the taskbar and Windows button in the center. Some people, I can imagine, aren't going to like that.
Right,
Some people are really going to like it.
Yeah.
It all comes down to muscle memory.
Right.
As you know, when you have tabs down here, it just moves along.
Yeah.
I've noticed with multiple tabs open, the Windows button seems to just move along towards the left. So if you've got muscle memory of where it goes down to, I can see that being a problem.
Yeah, because it is quite, if I'm looking at it like this,
Yeah.
it's very different being in the middle,
Yeah.
but I kind of like it. I do quite like it. But again, like you said, it's that muscle memory of, there's this, there's that. So will people kind of find that a bit annoying, maybe a bit difficult?
The good thing is it's nice and easy to change this.
Okay.
You just go to taskbar settings. If that disappears, taskbar settings, you can see all the taskbar settings down here.
Yeah.
So where were we looking? So taskbar alignment, right there.
Centre, yeah.
And you can move it to the left.
Oh, okay, so it is really easy to change then, customise.
Yeah, beforehand you could move it to the left or the right as well. You could put it along the edge of the screen. That's not a functionality at the moment.
Right.
Could be in the future because it works for touch input. But I don't know if that's definitely not a feature at the moment.
Okay.
It could be more towards the release of it. We're getting continuous updates.
Yeah.
For Windows 11 at the moment.
Yeah.
Daily updates just for better device performance and things and minimal changes. You've got a whole new sort of like Windows button there with a nice big menu, and this is all changed as well.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, you know, you've got all your Bluetooth and devices. It's much easier to sort of like manage everything, I find.
Okay, so it's kind of easier to find the settings that you want to change.
Yes, it's much easier to sort of go through it. It's to me better laid out. Obviously, it's very personal on what you like when it comes to your laptop. Everyone's got their icons in different positions. It's very subjective. I personally like the way it's laid out.
So to you, it's quite user-friendly then?
Yeah, much more user-friendly than beforehand. Obviously, working with repairing them, it can be a bit difficult to find specific settings.
Yeah.
It seems much easier to add a Bluetooth device than before.
Oh, okay.
You've got a nice big button there when you go to Bluetooth devices. and it should, you've got Xbox controllers, monitors, all of that sort of stuff. It seems much easier to me than Windows 10
Okay.
to add things on. Networking and internet, not much really has changed about that. You do have your mobile hotspot if you've got a SIM card in there. Some are able to put in a SIM card. You've got more information up here. So the private network, you can see what it's broadcasting on.
Oh, okay. That's quite useful.
Yeah. So like if you have to phone your ISP, your internet provider, they might ask you what it is because they can ask you some very weird questions and you'll be able to tell them straight away that it's broadcasting on this. You can, they'll be able to tell you some troubleshooting solutions for that. VPNs as well, which are gaining a lot of traction.
Okay.
Virtual proxy network essentially hides your online. Trying to think of the word. Your online persona, your online sort of like fingerprint to outsiders. You can add all them on. Just going over that.
Oh, yeah.
Personalization, not really much different than before.
Okay.
You really have the same options, it's just in a little bit of a different user interface. Yeah, as you can see, there's quite a lot of different little things. Like down here, instead of the separate buttons, you've got a nice big block there.
That's quite nice, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the the layout and the look and feel of that. That looks really nice, yeah. So one thing that I use daily is obviously File Explorer.
Yeah.
What changes have they made to File Explorer? Just because I know, obviously, it's something that people use every day. And so have they made many changes to it?
At the moment, not overly.
Okay.
Again, could change in the future. We're still working with an early build. They've changed the top bar up here. It's sort of just a little bit more...
Yeah. Doesn't look as cluttered.
No, it's very uncluttered up there. They've changed all of the icons. They're a little bit, again, softer on the eyes.
Yeah.
They've really gone for softer on the eyes.
That's kind of that's what I'm getting most, is that they really have focused on the look and feel of it, haven't they?
Yeah. So they've changed the whole like icon system, the sort of user interface when it comes to Windows pop-up, but when it comes to like files, as you can see there, they're still very similar.
Yeah.
You go to your hard drive, you go to users, you go to your profile, and then you've got all your pathways down there. That hasn't changed. Windows 10 is exactly the same. The only thing that's different there is the icons.
Yeah.
They're a little bit nicer.
Yeah. So one other thing that I did read about was they've got rid of, is it Cortana? Is that how you pronounce the name?
Yes.
Why do you think they've done that? I've heard that some people are saying they're pleased that they've got rid of it, and others saying, why have you got rid of it? So what do you think?
As far as I'm aware, she's going to be optional.
Optional, okay.
In the future.
She can be optional.
Yeah. I think one of the main problems is a lot of people found her slightly annoying.
Oh, okay.
Especially when you have to reinstall Windows all the time.
Right.
She's the first person that speaks, and she always says the same thing.
Right.
And to me, she wasn't as fantastic of an AI as I hoped she would be.
Okay.
You've got like Siri and Bixby for Samsung and all that, and Google's the AI system. They seem to be, quite advanced, whereas I never found Cortana to be as far advanced as I would hope for Microsoft.
Right.
So to me, I'm pleased with that decision that it's optional. I know some people aren't going to be happy about it. But it's, like I said, as far as I'm aware, it's going to be optional. So those people that aren't happy can put it back on. Yeah,
I was going to say, it'd be interesting to see in the comments what people think, if they think all of these changes that they've made to the user interface, so for example, the changes in settings and Cortana, are you happy? Do they like the changes? Are they happy with them? Because, from what I'm hearing, you're quite happy with the changes that they've made.
I think overall, it's a fantastic change. I've looked at sort of like a gaming machine as well, which a lot of, are quite a high market for laptops and PCs. I've looked at them. Their download stability seems to be far better than before. Whereas before, if you downloaded something, if you saw the waveform, it would be very up and down. But now it seems very stable. Obviously, there's a little bit of jittering, but that's natural.
Yeah.
It seems much more stable and easier to download things. So in that event and the user interface, I'm very happy with the changes so far.
Yeah. If we just quickly go back to Windows 10, and if we would do a bit of a comparison. So how much disk space does Windows 11 use up in comparison to Windows 10?
Windows 10 uses 32 gigabytes.
Right.
Or what required disk space.
Yes.
Windows 11 64. So you need double the disk space.
And would you recommend that when you're upgrading from Windows 10 to 11, you back up files? Is that something you would do as a kind of...
I would do it anyway, just in case the installation fails. That I would always recommend. I mean, I would recommend it anyway, doing backups regularly.
Yeah.
So you don't lose any data, because drives can fail at any point.
Yeah.
They can just go. No warning, no nothing. So I would recommend it anyway, but definitely if you're doing a major operating system overhaul, it's better safe than sorry.
Yeah. So like you said, you're really happy with the upgrade and the changes that they've made. If I decide to change from Windows 10 to 11 and I'm starting to use it and I'm not a fan of the operating system, I don't really like the new user interface. Can I go back? Can I go back to Windows 10?
You can, but they stop supporting 2025. So once it hits 2025, you will still be able to go back, but you no longer receive updates.
Yeah.
As long as you can download what's called an ISO file or a Windows bootable media tool, you can still install Windows 10 and still use it. But you would have to back up your data first.
Right.
Because you would have to completely wipe your drive to put Windows 10 back on.
Right. So I think, my next question was going to be when's the cut-off point for Windows 10? So it's 2025?
Yeah, 2025. Don't know the exact date in that year.
Right.
They have mentioned it. But yeah, 2025 is the cut-off date for support for Windows 10. And they mentioned that, funnily enough, before they announced Windows 11.
Oh, okay.
They mentioned that they had an announcement.
Right.
A lot of people thought it was Windows 11 anyway.
Right, they assume, yeah.
But they added on an end of support date to Windows 10 before they even announced. So a lot of people were just like, yeah, that's going to be Windows 11.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think probably my last question for you is about accessibility.
Yeah.
So obviously you've been using it for a while now.
Yeah.
Are there any accessibility features on Windows 11 that you're really impressed with?
At the moment, I think it's pretty comparable to Windows 10.
Right. Okay.
The access in Windows 10 they called it ease of access.
Right.
Now they've changed it to accessibility because I think that's a much more friendlier name. It's it's much nicer instead of just ease of access. They look identical at the moment to Windows 10, but that could change in the future. Nothing strikes me as mind-blowingly new, unfortunately. But, as we said before, early development build, there's a lot of accessibility on the mind of everyone at the moment, which is fantastic news. We definitely need more of it.
Yes.
But as of an early build, there's not much change yet.
Okay, right. So, wow, like you said, that could change though.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Windows 11 doesn't fully release until the end of the year, so there's more than likely going to be a lot of changes coming up anyway. So what we're looking at might not even be the final decision on what it's going to look like. It could change.
So, well, to be fair, I was just thinking then, it might be a good idea if we sit down again in a few months' time, maybe towards the end of the year, and see if there are any what changes they've made between now and then. That might be a good idea.
Yeah, compare this one to the Windows 11 full release.
Yeah.
See what's different.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Andy. I really enjoyed that conversation. I feel like I know Windows 11 a lot more now. So thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you everyone for joining us for this iView live episode. If you have any questions for me or Andy, pop them in the comments. We're constantly monitoring them so we can answer any of your questions. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
All right, thank you.